Hi, I'm Mike. Harvest on the ranch can be a time with a lot of decisions, and when the difference between profit and loss can literally be a few blades of grass. Today we continue this month's haying series and take a look at the numbers behind haying on our Wyoming Life. Welcome back, and thanks for coming along and continuing to explore the ranch life and escape the ordinary. Haying season on the ranch is all about tractors, grease, oil, repairs, and, well, the crop itself. But what it's also about is money. Now that may sound bad, but let's look at it this way. The ranch is full of tools. That tractor, the grease, the oil, the wrenches that you need to fix it, all of it, they're all tools. Money is a tool as well on the ranch, and just like I wouldn't leave a wrench out in the rain to get rusty and waste away, I wouldn't waste money. And knowing where it goes and how it ebbs and flows on the ranch is just as important as any other tool, all the way down to the simple tire pressure gauge. Haying season is a time of year on the ranch where we hope that weather, soil conditions, pest populations, even fences all work together to help grow a crop that we can harvest in order to feed the cows during the winter. Here in Northeast Wyoming, and in our situation with grazing pastures, rainfall, and every other contributing factor, we're looking at feeding hay and supplemental feed to cows for at least 6 months of the year. In fact, we call it 180 days in order to give ourselves a little bit of a buffer. Although this spring we fed a little bit longer, stretching the feeding season to about 200 days. With a single cow eating an average of 25 to 30 pounds of hay per day, we can figure that we need to have about 5,000 pounds of hay on hand for each and every single full-grown cow on the ranch. Each bull is going to eat almost double that. And with just that information, we can figure out what we need our hay harvest to be each year. Our baler is set to make bales that weigh about 1,400 pounds each. That 5,000 pounds per cow translates to about 3.5 bales per cow and 7 bales per bull to get us through winter. With a herd size of 150 cows and currently 5 bulls, we need to harvest about 800,000 pounds of hay, or 571 bales. Now, here's the difficult part of ranching in Northeast Wyoming. We get one shot to get this harvest. Rainfall averages are about 14 inches per year here, and a majority of that is in early spring. That creates one harvest as the rain tapers off beginning in July. Once we cut the grass, the 1 or 2 inches of rain that we're going to receive for the rest of summer and fall is not enough to create any regrowth. Because of that, we have lots of hay ground, a disproportional amount compared to other climates that may be able to irrigate or get enough rainfall on their own to create multiple cuttings. Here, each acre of ground has to produce, and each acre is quickly translated to a calf that we can sell in the fall. Historically speaking, there's a reason this area of the country was one of the last to be homesteaded in the early 1900s. It's a hard area to try to ranch, and I have a huge amount of respect for those that were able to come here with nothing and build a life here. I also feel a connection to those folks, although our struggles may be very different. When we set out to hay, we have to start looking at how cost-effective it is. Grazing ground, letting the cows harvest the grass for you, costs nothing. But it also doesn't help when there's a foot of snow on the ground and the cows are hungry. Buying hay will cost us at the very least $150 a ton. Maybe the worst would be about $200, and that's delivered. That's a delivered price, but it does add up quick, with each truckload of hay carrying 22 tons and costing close to $4,000. Just for comparison purposes, if we had to buy all of our hay, it would cost us on average of $60,000. Harvesting the hay, well, that costs also. Custom cutters in the area will charge you about $25 a bale to cut it, rake it, and bale it. In our situation, that would be a cost of about $15,000, which really isn't that bad when you look at it. You don't have to deal with machine costs, there's no breakdowns, and you don't have to mess with the time involved. The problem is that in this part of Wyoming, well, it's not that common to see custom cutters, and finding somebody to custom cut for you is hard. Most of us hard-headed ranchers in the area are still harvesting our own. We don't have time to go harvest somebody else's. So the big question is, what does it cost to put up my own hay, and where is that break-even point, and is it even worth it? It all comes down to operating costs: fuel, repairs, net wrap, Those are the big three. Now those are variable costs. Now you also have your fixed costs, depreciation, property tax, insurance, all that kind of stuff. And all this can get really complicated really fast. I'm going to concentrate today on variable costs of putting up our own hay here on the ranch and try to keep it as simple as possible. Now if we really dove into it, well, first of all, we'd be here all day. The easiest way to figure this out for today may be to look at the 3 steps of haying and figure out how much each one costs. We mow it, we cut it all down, we lay it on the ground, and then we rake it up into a windrow, and finally we bale it, creating that nice 1,400-pound cylinder of wintertime happiness for the cows. So we can start out by looking at fuel costs. All of our tractors use roughly the same amount of fuel per hour. All of our fuel is delivered in bulk, and the diesel is for off-road use only. This allows us to be highway tax exempt. Because of that, we're getting our diesel at about $2.60 a gallon. Our average fuel use in the tractors is 6 gallons per hour. That gives us a fuel cost of about $16 per hour. Mowing involves using a 18-foot sickle, and that mower is pulled behind a tractor. With this setup, we can mow 10 acres of hay ground per hour. For raking, now we're covering a little bit more area, about 30 feet, and really close to about 20 acres per hour. And baling is the same, as we're following that very same windrow that the rake lays down for us. Mowing costs us $16 per hour. We mow 10 acres, that's $1.60 an acre. Raking and baling each costs 80 cents per acre. So our fuel cost at total is $3.20 per acre. The other thing we have to consider are repair costs. Now, those are truly variable costs. Some years we may spend a couple thousand basic repairs. Other years it may be a major breakdown during haying that may cost $10,000. We try to average these out, and we say $5,000 per year in repair costs during haying. Now, in a perfect world, if we didn't spend that whole budgeted amount, we would put that into an account and roll it over for next year. But if you know anything about farming and ranching, you know that money gets spent somewhere else. Repair costs really are variable, but we try to plan for the worst and we hope for the best. For us, we're cutting about 550 acres, so repair cost is right around $9 per acre. The other big cost associated with baling is net wrap. Now this stuff is what we use to keep the bales together. Some people still use twine, it's a lot cheaper, but I found that the net wrap helps keep bales drier and it keeps them to stay together a little bit longer. Each roll of net wrap costs about $350. Now I've tried cheaper brands, they don't work as well for me in our baler. John Deere obviously wants you to use their brand and their balers, so maybe they're some sort of engineered that way, but it is what it is. You can vary how much you wrap, how much net wrap you use. If you're transporting bales by semi, you might want to wrap each one a couple of extra times to make sure it stays together. But for us, we only wrap each bale twice. And a roll of net wrap will wrap about 100 bales. Now that's a cost of $3.50 per bale. That's all we're really going to look at for cost today. And here in a minute, we will look at a cost per bale. I've not added in those fixed costs for this video, the insurance, the depreciation, the labor costs. Those are all going to vary depending on where you are and are much more easily left up for you to take into account and based on your location. Besides, if I put our amounts in here, I just get a bunch of arguments about it anyway. So let's add it all up and we'll figure it out. Our hope here on the ranch is to average 1 bale per acre of hay ground. Our total costs, fuel at $3.20 an acre, repairs and upkeep at $9 per acre, and net wrap at $3.50 per acre, all add up to $15.70 per acre. That's my cost per bale. And I'm not paying myself an hourly wage to make hay, so we're also not making payments on any of the equipment, thanks to my father-in-law Gilbert having left us this equipment before he passed away. But it's easy to see how making hay can really get sideways really fast. Let's say I hired a hand to help us hay. Now, that ranch hand is probably going to want at least $10 per hour. So, what do we do? Well, I don't know. We've done what we've always done, but I can tell you this, that if custom cutters were available here, which they aren't, I probably would hire them. I could sell one tractor, I could probably pay for their services for a few years, but that is also if we have hay. Now, drought is something that we struggle with constantly here, And there's such a small window of precipitation to make our entire harvest that it's almost a constant gamble. Maybe having the tractors and the equipment to do it yourself, maybe that's just the insurance we need, just to make you kind of feel like you're more in control of your own crop. You may ask why I'm sharing all this with you, and the main reason is to give you the background of what we do and why we do it, and what's required to get food out there to millions. It's not just us, it's thousands of farmers and ranchers who spend countless hours in tractors to put food on our tables. Just for fun, I added up the hours that we spend here on the ranch haying, bouncing around at 6 miles per hour, and came up with some totals. This year, we'll spend 55 hours mowing, 28 hours raking, and another 28 baling. A total of 110 hours make up the hay that the ranch is going to use to keep going for another year. The amazing part is that 110 hours often has to be completed in a very short window, with as many as, well, 16-hour days and a few sleepless nights as possible. We are almost done. Now we have a couple fields left to bale, and then we'll be able to share with you exactly how harvest went this year. We have cut fields that were hailed out after doing these exact calculations and figuring out that buying hay at $125 a bale is a bit more expensive than actually putting it up ourselves at $16. And every bale counts. Our haying wrap-up is coming up on Tuesday. Then we're going to have a little bit of fun next week. We're going to have another 360 video coming out that puts you right in the driver's seat, lets you make a few bales yourself. I hope you can subscribe, explore the ranch life, and escape the ordinary every time you come and visit us. Until I see you again, have a great week, and thanks for joining us in Our Wyoming Life.